So, I posted some videos like really early this morning because the past 24 hours-ish have been extremely significant spiritually for me. I've grown a lot and learned a lot of things. Um, and I want to share something that's going to sound absolutely ludicrous to a lot of people. But every bit of what I'm about to say is true. I learned it directly from uh, the Akashic Records, which is essentially the cosmic library where all information from history is stored. So most of what I'm going to say doesn't actually have any physical proof to find in this reality. Um, Only those who are attuned enough to access the Akashic Records will actually be able to verify any of this stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and get into it, and I have to do this live too to keep myself from writing it out and overthinking of it and allowing the ego to pervert anything that I have to say, because the whole point of what I'm going to talk about is the result of all the misunderstanding, mistrust, hatred, uh, miscommunication in this world, and the suffering that results of it. So it has to be live. I'm gonna misspeak. I'm gonna pause and forget stuff sometimes, but it's for the sake of purity. So what I'm gonna start with is I'm going to explain to you what the Holy Grail is, and not like the version of like the story of the Holy Grail or the legend. I'm going to tell you the literal truth of what the Holy Grail is, and that is knowledge. It is sacred knowledge that was once known by the Prophet Muhammad. And this knowledge was shared by the Prophet Muhammad with only his closest students and followers. It is the sort of the sacred knowledge that's like hidden. Like there are parts of the Kabbalah which are not for public use, that are like stashed away because not everybody is meant to know them. However, all secrets eventually come to light. Nothing can remain in the dark forever. And this knowledge that was once known by the Prophet Muhammad is the starting cause for the holy wars, the Crusades, and the search for the Holy Grail, as well as the Knights Templar and secret societies that have originated from that. Um, and sorry, I gotta calm down. I'm super excited about this. Um, uh, I forgot where I was going, but I'll just continue. Anyway, this specific knowledge has to do with Christianity and the fact that the modern Christian faith is in fact a complete bastardization, a perversion of the Hindu religion by way of a few select, extremely intelligent and manipulative Jewish people. And this is gonna piss people off, what I just said there. But nothing of what I'm saying is an attack on the Jewish religion as a whole, or even the people that created this issue. It's just about specific people that happen to be of the Jewish faith, and this has resulted in thousands of years of strife and wars, on an epic scale as well as on a small scale. It's literally responsible for the Nazi Reich, um, and it actually all originally begins in this new age, um, to this new age of religion, which we know of beginning essentially with Egypt. Ancient Egypt is where we really get the foundations for the first ideas and the written word of the modern idea of religion, the religion of this current age. Um, but essentially, but before I go into Egypt itself, uh, which I don't know that I have a whole lot to say about it. It's just where this starts. Um, I need to talk about the birth of Hinduism and Judaism. Both of these religions were born at roughly the same time in like 1500 BCE. And if anybody has studied Hinduism or Judaism, specifically the Kabbalah, the mysticism part of that religion, you'll find a lot of these same, not a lot, literally all of the same truths. They are the same religion from a different perspective, because people need different perspectives to understand. It's the point of individuality. That's why we're all here. So they're consistent in their core values, but the main difference is that Judaism is the original religion of this age, of one God, of a single conscious God, with power over everything. Whereas Hinduism is a religion of many gods. They still understand and respect the concept of one God. In fact, there are sects of Hinduism which worship a single unified God, rather than individual aspects or avatars of that God, which is what Hinduism is all about. All of those different gods, each one is an avatar of God himself, herself, and they represent different dynamics of personality and emotion and activity, so that we can then relate those stories. And in fact, in this age, Hinduism is dare I say it, the best religion to follow, as far as like gaining a broad understanding through individualistic aspects of reality. That's literally why there was the creation of all of these gods within it. Whereas within Judaism, you have the one God, the single powerful God, which is honestly is impossible to relate to, because who in life is all powerful and all omnipotent in any way? It's literally nobody. And because of this one little detail, it makes it very easy for people to get hung up on the idea of self, the one, because literally there's one God, there's one self. The self is the most important. And if you have studied Hinduism much, we live in the Western world, so most of you are going to know the story of Jesus. Jesus and Krishna are the same person. They're literally avatars of God in the same way. They're prophets and avatars. They have the same teachings. It's the parallels are uncanny, because they're no different. This is proof, goes to the root, that all religions come from the same source. So while these two religions, Judaism and Hinduism, were born at the same time, and ultimately are meant to achieve the same goal, they do it through very different means. And when you grow up in a certain place, or you were raised in a certain way, you become very attached to these ideas that you are taught. And this is extremely strong when it comes to matters of religion, because we identify with our religion. It is us. And when certain people they see somebody else having such strong belief in something that seems completely opposite, even though beneath the surface, at its core, it's essentially the same, they can't see that, because they're hung up on their ego. They're hung up on the part of it that they are attached to. And this is what happened with the birth of Christianity by way of the Roman Catholic Church, originating with the Nicene treaties, or I can't remember what it's called. I wrote it down, but my writing is fucking garbage. Anyway, this is when a group of people came together and organized the foundation of what Christianity was. And this small group of religiously Jewish people, whether they infiltrated or not, I can't say. I don't know this exact part. But they intentionally perverted the teachings of Jesus Christ in the New Testament, as well as misinterpreted the Old Testament on purpose for the sake of misguiding an entire civilization. And thus we have the birth of Christianity, which is at its root no different than Hinduism or even Buddhism or Judaism or any of the major religions, but it's perceived to be different. And it has resulted in catastrophic suffering throughout this world that is a direct result of a spiritual war of the opposing realities of duality, the dark and the light, the good and the evil that exists on this plane and everyone above ours. Ultimately, it trickles down, and these wars are that we have, this hatred, it's all a manifestation of a misunderstanding of the necessity of the duality and the, in fact, oneness of it. Within duality, you have one and two, but the two together make one, and you have the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, which exists in Christianity. It also exists in Hinduism by way of both and they have two trinities, and more trinities actually, but the most basic, you have the feminine trinity, which, Parvati, Lakshmi, and another goddess that I'm spacing on at the moment. And you have, on the masculine side, you have Shiva, the destroyer. Oh, Kali is the, was the goddess that I was missing. Kali, the destroyer. Shiva the Destroyer in the male. I think that's right. I might be fucking that up. I hope I'm not. As far as the Kali part goes. Anyway, there's Shiva the Destroyer. There's Vishnu, the protector or preserver, and then Brahma, the creator. So Brahma himself doesn't have an avatar. Brahma is the ultimate god, but Brahma is born of Vishnu and Shiva coming together, the destroyer and the protector, to ultimately make all of creation, create that Holy Trinity, which is also reflected in mind, body, and spirit. The Father, what is it? I can't remember the Christian one. The Holy Spirit, and something else. I don't remember a lot of the points of Christianity because it's a bastardization of the truth. So I don't value it in the same way as far as teaching goes because it's so misunderstood. Okay, I gotta backtrack a little bit. Anyway, just the concept of the Holy Grail in the wars. So, as a result of the Council of Nicaea and creating the Christian religion, you have this bastardization of the truth of reality and love that literally spreads the world. As we know, all roads lead to Rome, or did at one point in time. So they had a massive influence, and they spread this twisted version of the truth across the world, and it became the founding religion, or like the primary religion, I should say, of the British Empire, and then it crossed the sea to the United States of America, where we used manifest destiny to wipe out, to commit genocide against an entire race of indigenous, peaceful peoples. I know that there's a history that is written by white America that says the Native American tribes were constantly warring against each other, so our killing them wasn't that big of a deal because they were doing it to themselves. This is absolute horseshit, and I'm going to go further into detail on that in a moment. But anyway, this misunderstanding of religion by way of Christianity dominated the American mindset and created this and expanded this imperialistic world from the British Empire, which ultimately led to the creation of capitalists and the literal worship of the dollar, the monotonization of value, of inherent value, like the physical embodiment of an inherent value that we all understand exists literally within everything. As you can see from today's world, capitalism dominates the entire world. It doesn't matter what essential foundation any culture around the world had before it was uh, invaded by imperialist America, they all now worship the almighty dollar too, or the yen, or whatever currency you want to call it, or have, I should say. And so, because of this Christian perversion, we have literally started worshiping a false god. And to digress a little bit into a different topic, which is equally important, I want to talk really quickly about the TV show The Stand. This is a redoing of a previous TV miniseries from the early 90s, I think, which is based off of a Stephen King novel about the end of days. It's a literal story of good versus evil, with good God on the side of Mother Abigail, and Satan, evil, on the side of Flag, Randall Flagg, I think his name is. Well, in this new version, Alexander Skarsgård does a remarkable portrayal of this Flag character. And I was watching it a couple weeks ago with my mom, and he's talking with Mother Abigail, and she calls him Satan, and it enrages him. And he says that's not his name. And I don't remember exactly what piece of scripture or what chapter this occurs in the Bible. I believe it's somewhere in the Old Testament. But he says, my name is Legion, for we are many. And when I heard this, all of a sudden a realization struck me of the definition of Satan, the truth of the devil, and this Christian idea of the devil that is the ultimate evil and meant to be avoided at all costs. And this is key. The avoidance of it. The avoidance of it creates it. It manifests it. And as a result, this entire world, this entire Christian nation, this entire capitalist world worships the devil. And we create our own hell because we're idiots and we live through the ego. The way that I came to this realization is because when he makes a statement, we are legion, for we are many, it literally means we are many individuals. The world is populated by billions of individual egos, and all of these egos are clashing and striving to step over another and become supreme. This created an actual, literal Satan when one never existed. And anybody who follows this capitalist system that loves the dollar, that strives for material things, you don't even realize it, but you worship evil. I've talked about judgment and like nothing's good and bad, nothing's evil, and I mean it. Like I don't think of these concepts of good and as good or evil. I just think of them as opposing forces that are necessary for us to learn and suffer and ascend to higher levels of existence until ultimately we are all one again. We reunify with God, or God consciousness. Then, alright, spacing for a second. Whatever. Ultimately, that's my point on. Oh, I'm using these words, good and evil, to explain these concepts to you because I need to speak in terms that everybody is familiar with to really put this stuff out there. So that's how we worship the devil as an entire world, and it's not even rooted in. And I mean, it comes from Christianity, but it expands past that. And it's directly related to the ego again. So in Christianity, misunderstanding creates the ego, the value of the self, without any true understanding of the afterlife. And even the afterlife is in Christianity is very wrong. It essentially states that if you do good enough, but you don't even really have to do good enough. You can do whatever the fuck you want to, and then you can ask for forgiveness. And because Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross for us, which is literally true, this actually happened, but because that happened, we're absolved of our sins, and we can be the dirtiest fucking dickheads we possibly want to be, and we can still go to heaven as long as we're remorseful for it. Well, you can't actually be remorseful for anything if you have that mindset. It's fucking asinine. Um, and that's how the Western world came to worship the devil and create our own actual hell. This also happened in the Eastern world, and I'm saying Eastern as far as like geographically, not philosophically, because Hinduism is part of the Eastern world, and that's a different, but also the exact same version of hell. I mean this by way of China and Russia specifically, and communism. Communism is essentially it goes hand in hand with atheism, a complete lack of any god, or unity essentially. With atheism, there's literally nothing left to worship except yourself. And when I was atheist, it's fair to say that I absolutely worshipped myself. I understand this point of view, and I know that what I'm saying is true on it. If you are atheist, you're stuck up your own ass in some way, and as a result, that perverts your idea of how to act and live in this world. And it has also led to the Eastern world to be consumed by capitalism as well, even though it's through a different vehicle than the Western world with Christianity. So that's just like all of this stuff that I'm talking about too. There's way more to go into on it, but right now I don't have the time to do that. I just need to get these ideas out, and then later I'm gonna go back and revisit them, write it out, produce a book or an article or something, and really flesh all this stuff out for further study. But now I'm gonna go into how this spiritual war that is occurring on all planes has manifested on this war, in this world. And I spoke a little bit about it with the Crusades, the Holy Wars, and all of that. To go back to that, actually, the Holy Wars, they began about 300 years after the life of Muhammad. And the entire point of these wars was to search for the Holy Grail, but actually to find it and destroy it. It was about the Christian world destroying the truth of the bastardization of religion and essentially existence. And this was done by waging a war on the Muslim world. And ultimately, when the Holy Wars ended, it happened because they had accomplished their goal. They had killed off all of the people that actually knew this sacred knowledge. They probably burned whatever texts existed about it and just hid it away. And that's how you have these secret societies that exist today. And I don't know what they are, but there's all kinds of like conspiracy theories, without a doubt, some of which are true, about like pyramids and symbolism and fucking the Masons or something like that. I can't remember. It's really irrelevant, because they're insignificant players in something that is occurring well above our understanding on a different plane. We're just the bottom manifestation of it. Shit rolls downhill, and we're at the bottom of hill, constantly getting covered in it. So the Holy Wars ended, the Crusades ended when this goal was accomplished. And I don't know what they said as far as like why it ends, like what it says in history books, because I guarantee it's bullshit and it's irrelevant. History is written by the winners. So essentially, the most evil people, the ones that are willing to fight the hardest for what they believe is right. And to put it simply, if you have to fight if you're fighting for your beliefs, if you're trying to force them on somebody else, your beliefs are wrong. It's that simple. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This genocide resurfaced again with Nazi Germany, and this is where I have some notes on to kind of explain this and relate it, but essentially everybody knows that the Nazi Reich was all about exterminating Jews for the most part, but also like anybody that didn't agree with them or fit their idea of this Aryan race. or that was not properly genetically fit. They used the science. Science is a great thing, right? The science of eugenics to justify their cause for genocide. But anyway, the within Nazi symbolism, they use the swastika, which is originally a symbol, which I think is actually from Jainism, which is a little older than Hinduism, but whatever. It's used by Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. And the swastika itself, it's a symbol for love. I'm gonna read this better. For the sun, for light, and for peace and truth. And this symbol, it's the two S's on and like crossed onto each other in the Nazi swastika, which obviously is not a symbol for anything like good generically, or subjectively good, I should say. As far as like peace, it's all about the exact opposite. But then also within Hinduism, you have the swastika, which is the exact same symbol mirrored. And this is the dominant symbol within Buddhism to represent peace, essentially. It has much more meaning than that, but it also represents the void, the darkness from which all is created. So in the typical idea of the light versus the dark, good versus bad, the void it represents the evil. That's why we stay away from it. That's why we're afraid of the dark, and such. Well, this is a little side note that I think is interesting about the nature of language and its originations and how things remanifest over and over again. So you have the swastika and the savastika. Well, in German, the word for a female pig specifically, and I think it's really really interesting that it's specific for a female pig, is Sau. I mean, S-A-U. And then that also is in English. Well, you have the savastika, which is the opposite of the swastika, and it represents evil. Well, within Judaism and Islam, the pig represents an unholy, unclean animal that you're not allowed to eat. It's irrelevant to what I'm saying, but it's just another way that the truth exists in everything around us. It's just a matter of whether or not we're able to see it. Cool. So I basically covered everything that I wanted to address as far, and I said earlier. I said something about doing this live because I didn't want to write stuff down and pervert it. I don't have anything written as far as like my thoughts. I literally just wrote down talking points, shit that I looked online and got some dates and got some specific words to just throw up there and remind me of subjects that I wanted to address. But now I want to go into something that goes even further back beyond what I'm telling you now, to a completely different age of civilization. But in order to do that, I'm going to start with today's modern age of civilization and religion that essentially was born around the time that that ancient Egypt rose to power. And to talk about it, I also need to talk about Atlantis. A lot of people think of Atlantis as a fictional place, a story of myth and legend that never actually existed. But this is entirely false. Atlantis was real. It had an entire civilization of people behind it. And when it fell, that left this vacuum within our world, which allowed for this misunderstanding of nature and reality and religion to pervert our minds and confuse us. Because while the Atlanteans were alive, we lived in a much more prosperous life form way of life throughout the world. And I don't know exactly what it was that crushed the Atlanteans. I think a natural disaster had something to do with it in combination with war, literally specifically of the Egyptians. And this makes a lot of sense as I go into explaining how this relates to the Holy Trinity. So like a lot of people have done like 23andMe and stuff like that and gotten information for their genetic background, and there's different categories and little subcategories and stuff. Um, but there are actually three, I want to say, like races, culture, like religions of origination, like ideas, like philosophies of life, essentially, that represent the Trinity as well in their own way. And I'm going to relate them back to Hinduism because it's literally the perfect metaphor for almost all of this reality and explaining it in today's age. I said earlier that you have you have Shiva, you have uh, uh, I can't forget the name again. Um, Vishnu, and then you have Brahma. Shiva the destroyer, Vishnu the protector or preserver, and Brahma the creator. So there are three races essentially of this new age that we currently live in, and they are the Atlantean race, which was destroyed as a whole as their civilization center, but still exists in remnants in all of the Pacific and Native American lineage. So like people that were from South America, Central America, North America, the Pacific Islands, New Zealand, um, stuff like that. They are of the Atlanteans, and they were the protectors. They were the preservers. And when they were destroyed, when that civilization seat was destroyed, that's where this vacuum was created because we had nobody to protect the truth anymore. And you also have the Indo Caucasian race, which is born from the Middle East, which is also this was the Egyptians as well. This is where you have the birth of Hinduism, Judaism, and Islam. We are the destroyers. We are as a people, the avatar of Shiva. And then you have the third race, and everybody's gonna say there's more than three genetically, and I know this. I'll go into that in a minute. But then you have the third race, which is that of Africa, and they are, as a people, they are the avatar of Brahma, the creator himself. And everything that is created is born of the void, born of the darkness. So you see this physically manifested in the color of their skin. Obviously, there's the argument about genetics and adaptation to your environment, so that the sun doesn't burn fragile white skin. Extra pigmentation was developed to absorb those rays. But that's literally just a physical manifestation of a spiritual truth. Just like everything that exists in this physical plane, it's all physical manifestations of a spiritual truth. Spiritual truth of love, of harmony, like of everything. But we misunderstand the fuck out of all of this. When the Atlantean civilization was basically wiped out, you no longer had these protectors, these people who with a deep understanding of nature and mana and the interplay of all life there to guide us. You just have like scattered civilizations literally spread thousands of miles apart, and there's no power in that. Meanwhile, you have the creators from Africa, which they don't serve any purpose other than creation, so they're not active in like trying to affect the world in any way. They're literally content to just be one with their creation. This is why you have like this amazingly beautiful natural tribal community and religion and society that is born of actual Africa, and not these like white appropriated versions of it that we see in so many ways. And then you have the destroyer. You have Shiva the destroyer, the manifestation of religion by perversion of of Hinduism as well as Buddhism and Christianity and Islam. Like all of these religions have been perverted by the ego in some way. There are different sects of every one, and each one has perverted it in their own ways and misconstrued it and ego related it, associated it, become attached to it, and generated suffering for themselves and others. So I mentioned that there are more than 3 races, obviously, and this not like, so what I'm saying too, like I haven't studied the exact specifics of genetic markers and like how you can identify where people are from. This is stuff that I got from the Akashic Records. I know it is true, and I promise you, if you study this, the science will back me up without any fucking doubt. Just like how I can relate a coin flip to quantum mechanics and the entire nature of reality and suffering itself. It's the same stuff. People think that ancient Norse mythology and Oriental mythology is all just stories. It's all just bullshit. But it's not. It was 100% true. Odin existed. Thor existed. I mean, Odin didn't exist. Odin is the creator. Thor existed. Various other aspects existed in avatars, in that religion or whatever you want to call it. And I know very little about Chinese mythology, but I know it's the same. It's from an age that occurred before this one that we are actually ending right now. This time that we exist in at the moment, we are transitioning into a new age. People know it as the age of Aquarius. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. This information that I am sharing with you is what brings about this new age of prosperity. But anyway, so you have 2 new races that I talk about. And you say, well, that's too new, but everything occurs in a trinity. I'm fucking wrong. But the creators, the African race, they have always existed. They have always been there. They will always preserve as long as humanity is alive. Like, even as we consume ourselves and the last humans die off, the last ones to exist will be the race of the creators from the African land. But so you also have, through Norse, you have, I guess it's labeled today as Aryan, I don't know, but you have the white people, the fucking blondies, the people that the sun just kills. And because this is from a different age, it's not our age, it's not necessary for me to know this. I don't know whether they were the destroyers or the preservers, or if it was ancient Chinese mythology and that culture that embodied it. And this goes beyond just the gods, like ideas like the giants. So actually, I'm not going to go get into this stuff right now because it's not actually necessary to my point. But I do want to bring up Greek mythology, which is like thought of in a very similar vein as Norse and Oriental mythology. And I'm sitting here saying that Oriental mythology is based in absolute truth, just like Norse mythology is. Greek mythology is not. Greek mythology is the Christian version of that age. It's a complete misunderstanding and egoic bastardization of the truth of life, nature, and religion. With that, I think that I'm done for now. I know that's a lot of stuff to process. I know a lot of people that see this video are gonna think I'm absolutely insane and completely full of myself and also ego loaded. That's fine. I don't care one bit, because some of you are gonna hear this and you're gonna know it. You're gonna know it's true, or you're at least gonna wonder, and you're gonna do research on your own, and you're gonna find the truth yourself. And that's what all of this is about. I'm not here to tell you the truth or tell you how to think or what to think or why to think it. I'm just here to tell you what I know, what I have experienced, and allow you the opportunity to broaden your perspective as well as I have with mine. Thanks for listening. I hope you all have a great day. love.